Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have the opportunity to work on a Shimano reel. This is a Shimano Twin Power. This is the SW5000HG version of the reel. 5.7, I'll assume it's a 5.7 retrieve. Beautiful reel. It was sent in by Cole. Asked me to give it a tune-up. So that's exactly what we'll do. We'll show you how to take this reel apart, how to service it, how to keep it fishing for a long time to come. Well, we're going to start by removing the exterior pieces. As I do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like fishing reel service and repair, if you like to learn about fishing reels, if you like to understand how they're made, how they're different from each other, and in a lot of cases how they're the same. And well, we'll show you how to do that. I always like to check the Shimanos when I'm working on them to make sure that the handle is an unscrew handle, which it is. This one has a side cap and an O-ring on the non-handle side, but it does not have a screw. So this handle will be removed by screwing it in the direction that is opposite of the way that you crank. So we're going to remove that. And the big parts, you can leave those off to the side, but when you start getting into the smaller pieces and parts of the reel, you do want to use a parts tray. And the parts tray will be invaluable in, well, just about everything in terms of locating the pieces and parts that you took off to, well, knowing where they are when it comes time to reinstall. You're going to need several different tools for this reel. They've used everything here. They've used the Torx number 7 for the bump guard, but then they moved up to a Torx 9, T9, for 2 of the side plate screws. And then one of them, I think, is back to the 7 on the other side. So this is a good place to tell you to take pictures as you are taking your reel apart, because you'll never know what's different. And if you stumble across something that's different, you want to know where it is. So for example, on this reel we noted that the first one on the bump guard was a Torx 7 screw. Then we went to Torx 10s here. I think it was a 10, right? 9. And now I'm taking them out to make sure that they're the same size, and they're not. So the smaller screw goes up top, the longer screw goes below. That's important when you go to reinstall. And then I think we're back to a size 7 here. I'm going to leave this one in to hold the lower case together while we go up top and remove that section. To remove that section, yep, you need another one. There's a very small screw that holds this cap on place. You'll find it over here. It's also a Torx. Now I have one of these multi-bit sets that helps to take this stuff out. You can see that small screw right there. I'm just going to leave that in the bit right there. I don't think I will need that driver again. And we should be able to remove the rest of that assembly. I'm going to put that in my parts tray right next to those pieces. Next up we have a retention ring here. There's 2 screws that hold that on. And I'm not sure, probably should go get the diagram. I'm not sure if that needs to be removed or not. Clearly the ones inside need to be removed. So why don't we start with those? That's going to give me access to the rotor nut. And the rotor nut is what's holding this assembly to the gearing underneath. Again, take the pictures. Now I'm taking pictures with a video camera, but you can use any image capture device that you have. I'm getting pretty smooth with that image capture device thing. Use your digital camera, use your iPhone, use your tablet, whatever it is that's got a camera associated with it that you're comfortable using in the shop. And well, that will help you out of a lot of jams when you start to try and figure out what was the orientation of it, or what came first. Those things help. Alright, I took that cap off, Took that off. I'm going to need to get a bigger wrench, I think, for this. Let's see if that's a 17. It's probably a 19. Yeah, it's a 19. I'm going to need to get a bigger wrench. So we'll pause the video here while I go get that wrench, and we'll be right back. So I went to my ratchet set, got the wrench, and just got that first piece to turn. Now notice there's a slim washer that sits on top of this next assembly that we are removing. This comes off, I believe, in a clockwise manner. So it's a reverse thread. Let's remove that up and off. And there's a little seal here. So we had a seal with a washer on top of it. Take a picture, know where you are with this. And then when I come over to my parts tray, and just make sure they're embedded next to each other. All right, now you see why I removed that axle shaft, because we can lift this up and off. And then this will be your reverse clutch. This will be your little friction ring. So I want to get to that friction ring. That's what's holding me here at the moment. It's a little rubber band thing, but it needs to come off because you're going to have the case screw under the back, usually, just assuming we have that here. Now, to get the right answer, you can go online and get the schematic for the reel. I think maybe it's just easier to take off the anti-reverse clutch here. Now, so notice you have a cap, you have the clutch, you have the inner ring, and the inner ring has got a shim washer on it, but it's also got a stagger. There's a smaller diameter and a wider diameter. The wider diameter goes up top. So I'm just going to reseat this in here. We know that that little ring comes on here. And then this is the seal that's going to go up top. We're going to leave all of that right off to the side here. Next up then, we can remove our pinion gear with those three pieces, but I was working on this rubber band. This is the rubber seal that goes underneath. It'll run right on that track there. Now let's get that little anti-vibration ring off. Okay, the vibration ring is off, and now you'll see that we have a couple of more case screws here. And I'm not sure which ones they are, but I'll bet that they're the smaller ones. They're kind of coated in grease at the moment. Well, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, that's because it's coming in the other side. There you go. Then I would encourage you to ask the questions in the comments section, and that will I'll try to get the responses back to you. Normally what I'll do is I will answer those questions in the morning. So if you're leaving a question in the evening, then I would likely, before I open up the shop in the morning, I'll answer those questions for you. Okay, take a picture. We're on the side that has the case screws on it. And these two are Phillips head. So if you're paying attention, we have two Phillips heads here up top holding the case on. They're hiding under that little rubber band. We have a short T9. We have a long T9. In the bump guard, we have a short T7, And we have another T7 over here that we still haven't removed. Lots of moving pieces and parts here. Okay. Now I've been setting off these case screws in my parts tray, kind of in a rotational, to make sure that I know where they are and how I took them off. And again, this one almost looks like one side is bigger than the other. This one just might be stubborn in terms of wanting to come out. That's a long screw. Yeah, it's got that. Okay, both of those screws are the same. Now I only have one more before I remove the case. And I believe that's going to be the smaller of the torque screws, the T7. And I have a little kit of the Torx drivers. There's also a multi-bit kit. You saw me use the one as the one that took off that little drive there. Okay, well, all of the screws are out. This side plate should come off now. And underneath you can see, well, it hasn't been serviced. Here's the trip ramp for your gear. This is your main gear now. Let's see if we can get that out. We have a bearing underneath. And so the only other thing that we haven't done here is to remove the pinion gear. So I'm going to just, again, these are kind of laid out here. They're big pieces. You could put them into the parts tray if you like. Or you can, well, you can do what I'm doing here, lay them out close by. Take a picture here. Notice that this is not a symmetrical piece. As a tie-down collar for your pinion gear. And notice what's up and what's down. So there is a taper underneath these flathead screws. I'll leave them right there as well. And now I should be able to pull this whole assembly right up and out. Okay, I'm going to leave that axle shaft attached. This is very much the same setup as a Stratic. It has a worm gear drive. This is your axle attachment with a pawl in it that's going to ride in your sleeve here. This is your interface drive. You can see how that's going to work. The main gear will turn the pinion gear, which also turns this gear. And that's going to move your oscillation gear up and down. I oil those worm gears. I'm going to put a little bit of grease onto that drive gear. I'm using Penn Precision Real Grease for this. And I'm making sure that we have a good amount of grease into the teeth. I don't put grease onto that worm gear, and that's because I find that grease collects dirt and debris, and that dirt and debris can choke a reel and compromise its performance. Alright, I'm going to wipe the old grease off of this, inspect the teeth. This one's in good condition. This reel doesn't look like it's even been fished, quite honestly, except that it's dry. Alright, once you inspect the teeth, do the same thing with the pinion gear. Make sure that you load that up with a good amount of grease again. And when reinstalling, there is a bearing. I left it in the case. There is a bearing that's going to sit on the back of this. What I'm going to do is use my oiler to oil that bearing. And also oil the bearing in the case in the back here. So we can take the pinion gear now, place that in, get that seated. Next up is the inner bearing, and that has a little ring on the top of it. go on next into the case, the ring, and then our tie-down clamp goes on. And again, remember that this was not symmetrical, so you're going to have two little gaps there that are going to kind of center it for you, and then we can reinstall the tie-down screw here. I want to put that in before we put that main gear back in. And one more. All right, all set there. Again, the main gear is a beautiful piece of engineering, and it's dry. There is a shim washer on this side that you need to know about. Make sure if you've taken that off that when you go to reinstall that you put that shim washer back on. That shim washer is installed at the factory. It's there to take any slop or side-to-side play out of that main gear. And to help it perform easier. Okay, we know that that one was in the back here. So let's make sure we oil that bearing as well. We can install this now. If you like, you can turn it, make sure that everything's working nicely. It should be friction-free. Say that 5 times fast, I guess, right? Now let's bring that cover back on now. That was an oops because I didn't put the bale trip back on yet. So this bale trip is going to ride. You're going to find that you have a little access point there that's going to sit in the slot like that. And now when you go to put that in, the other side of the slot is going to fit in here. Make sure that you have a nice tight seam and that nothing is forced as you go about putting that back on. Turn it again, make sure that it slides nice and easy. Then we can reinstall the screws that belong on this side plate. Well, we know that we took those 2 big ones out, or last, so let's go put those right back in. And remember, these came in from the same side that you attached the side plate. I don't think you could put them in from the other side. I tried, it didn't work. And again, like most reels, as you're tightening these down, kind of vary the pattern that you do these in. I didn't tighten that one screw there. So I'm going to just get this one started, and then I'm going to go below here and put an anchor screw in on the other side just to keep the case tension correct. All right, let's get that out of the way. Remember we had the 2 Torx 9s. One was longer than the other. I'm going to take the long one, which came from below. Grab that screwdriver and put that in. And that's going to make sure that the case sits even now, because I have tension on the top on the one screw that we put in, tension on the bottom screw here. Now we can go back, tighten this one. And the rest of them is less important or less critical because you will have the case pretty much secured at this point. Okay, take that small Torx that goes over here. That's the Torx 7. The tools all over the place with the way they designed these screws. For those of you wondering, this is a Milwaukee tool set. I'll show you the case in a moment. This is a Torx set that I use here. It's available online or at your local hardware stores that carry that product. Okay, last of the Torx 9s. And now what we've done is we've shown you the inside, we've lubricated it all, we made sure it's clean, and well, we've pretty much gotten to the point where we need to just install the top end and the bump guard below. Put that shield back on. Here's our bump guard. Now, bump guards are designed so that any kind of contact that the reel has, maybe with a pier or being dropped or something else, that the bump guard will shatter and not the reel. So it's not just a pretty design feature that gives you a chance to put a chrome colored piece of plastic on there. It does actually have a function. Alright, let's take the anti-reverse clutch. And normally there's a stud pattern here. Yeah, so there's two studs here, or cavities here. There's two studs on the back of this. We can probably go ahead and put that on. Once you've located those two studs and have the trim ring sitting nicely, we want to move towards the rest of the install. The next part is to put that cap on that seals, and underneath that cap is where that little rubber seal goes, just like that. And then we need to aim as we come across. You want to bring this on and over so that you align with the screw holes inside. Do that and we can tighten this up. Now if you have any question, I stopped the camera a moment ago. If you have any question on where the pieces and parts go, even though you're taking pictures, there is a backup plan. And when I went to get that other wrench, I decided I would go get the schematic as well for the reel, just in case. You can see it's a very busy schematic of everything going on here. But don't trust your memory, there's a lot going on. There's a little small washer that goes next. And there is a ferrule, a little white ferrule that I put in there inside the pinion gear when we reinstalled that. I may not have shown that on camera. Okay, that's the bottom set now. Next up then is to install the rotor. There is a flat side you need to match on your pinion gear. Then we have our tie down nut. Remember, we took this one off in a clockwise manner, so it's going to thread counterclockwise. And you may recall that there was a small washer right at the beginning when we did this. That's sitting in the groove here. I don't know if you can see it, but it is sitting in the groove. It hasn't been forgotten. And you may need to adjust the swing on your piece. Give it a turn. Make sure it's turning nice and easy. Here's that little ferrule that I put in before. I don't know if I mentioned that on camera, but that goes inside the pinion gear. Kind of a cushion as that axle shaft moves up and down. Once we do that now, there's a flat washer that goes next. Just like that, kind of closes that off. Then we have that rubber guard, mortar seal. Now you need to align your tie-down clip with the screw holes. Looks like we're just a little bit away from tightening that down the right to get the measure there. It's a little game of hide and seek. Almost got it there. One more. These are fractional turns, but you do want to align it. You don't want to try and force any screws into anything anywhere. All right, they're aligned now. All right, now we can take our 3 screws that hold that assembly down. And we're just about winding up here. Give this a test in a moment. So what have we done? We've done a complete take apart of this reel. We've explained how the reel works, showed you the worm gear drives, the quality of the materials inside of it, the way that it was engineered. We checked everything, make sure all those pieces and parts were correct. And now we're reinstalling after we've re-lubricated it. All right, those are the 3 screws that go there. Next up then is our assembly that's going to hold the spool at the right height. Find your hole. It's going to be a square. You're not going to be able to mess this up too much, but obviously I just knocked the one piece off. Bring that down. Make sure that, I guess we probably want to install this. Set that on and then make sure that you are aligned with your screw hole. Again, I've left that little countersink screw right there on my tip of my driver, but wherever you put it, don't lose it. It won't work properly if you've dropped it somewhere. Bring that in and make sure that it is inside and tight. And now we have these little shim washers. There's one on there already, but if your spool line lay is high or low, these are the ones you're going to remove or add. This one had the 3 on it. Looks like the spool is balanced, so I'm going to just leave it that way. Just as I found it. Now if you're having trouble when you remove this because you can't get to that lock screw, then pull these off ahead of time. This is also why you want to be inside that hole when you do that. Okay, let's put the spool on. Tighten it down to make sure it's holding. Grab our handle, screws on turning forward. Okay, let's make sure that everything's working the way it should. What a nice smooth reel this is, huh? The Saltwater 5000HG Twin Power. And we haven't serviced the bail here, so you just want to run a little bit of oil into the seams and onto the line rollers. That'll help protect the bail and make it, well, if there's any dirt in there, it will get rid of that dirt. That's it. That's how to service the reel, how to keep it fishing for a long time to come. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do to keep us safe. Your efforts and career dedication truly are appreciated. And to all of our watchers, keep your reels serviced, have them ready to go. It's almost that time of year where this fishing is upon us. Make sure that yours is ready when the first strikes happen. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day.